9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. We have a liftoff. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
This watch has been where no human-made object should survive, 240,000 miles from Earth. But the story of how it got there? That's where things get really interesting. Most watches live boring lives. At your office desk, maybe a fancy dinner, but one watch defied every odd, survived every test, and made the ultimate journey to another world. This is the story of the Omega Speedmaster. Our story begins in 1957, Switzerland. Omega creates the Speedmaster for racing drivers who needed split-second timing on dangerous racetracks. Revolutionary design. Black dial for maximum contrast. Luminous hands for night racing, pushes position to prevent accidental activation. The first Speedmaster rolled off the production line with a simple mission to time racing cars. No one imagined it would one day time humanity's greatest adventure. By the early 1960s, America had a problem. The Soviet Union was winning the space race. Sputnik and Yuri Gagarin. President Kennedy made his declaration. We're going to the moon before the decade ends. NASA needed everything space-worthy. And yes, timing devices. Because in space, timing isn't just important. It's the difference between coming home and being lost forever. NASA tested everything. Temperature extremes from 200 degrees down to 160 below zero. Pressure changes, shock tests, vibration tests. They tested 12 different chronographs from top manufacturers, Rolex, Longines, and Hamilton. When the smoke cleared, only one watch survived every single test, the Omega Speedmaster. NASA's report was devastating for other manufacturers. The Omega Speedmaster met all requirements and passed all tests. March 1965, NASA's official flight-qualified chronograph. Here's the incredible part. Omega had no idea. NASA bought these watches off the shelf. No modifications. Just a racing chronograph tougher than anything else on Earth. Apollo 11, July 1969. 3 men attempt something no human has ever done. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins. Then disaster nearly strikes. The spacecraft's primary timing system fails. This isn't inconvenience. It's potentially catastrophic. Rocket burns must be timed to the second. One miscalculation could send them into deep space or crashing into the moon. The backup plan? They're Omega Speedmasters. Armstrong leaves his Speedmaster inside the lunar module as emergency backup. Aldrin straps his over his EVA suit with Velcro. Awkward, but it means timing capability during their landing. July 20th, 1969.
Shadow. 4 forward, drift into the right low. 30 second forward. Contact light. Okay, engine stop. Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Rocket crank.
4:17 p.m. Eastern. The Eagle has landed. Hours later, Armstrong opens the hatch. Down the ladder he goes.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
18 minutes later, Aldrin joins him. There on his wrist, outside his spacesuit, the Omega Speedmaster, ticking away as 2 humans walk on another world for the first time. For 2 hours and 31 minutes, that Speedmaster operated in impossible conditions. No atmosphere, extreme temperatures, deadly radiation. It kept perfect time. A Swiss racing chronograph became the first watch worn on the moon.
Apollo 13 was supposed to be NASA's third moon landing, a routine mission that would further expand humanity's footprint on another world. But space has a way of reminding us that nothing is ever routine. 2 days into the mission, everything seemed perfect. The crew was performing standard maintenance, just stirring the oxygen tanks to prevent the contents from settling. A simple, everyday procedure they'd done countless times in training. 9:08 p.m. Houston time. Jack Swigert flips the switch. The entire spacecraft shudders. Warning lights illuminate the cockpit like a deadly Christmas tree. Alarms blare. The main electrical system starts failing. And then comes the radio call that would echo through history.
Okay, Houston, we've This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we've had a problem.
What happened in that split second was catastrophic. Oxygen tank number 2 had exploded, ripping a massive hole in the side of the service module. Precious oxygen, the very air the astronauts needed to breathe, was venting into the vacuum of space. The main power system was dying. The temperature inside the command module began plummeting toward freezing. In an instant, the dream of landing on the moon was over. The mission had transformed from one of exploration into a desperate fight for survival. With the command module dying around them, the crew had only one option: abandon ship and move into the lunar module, Aquarius. But here's the problem: the lunar module was never designed for this. It was built to support 2 astronauts for just 2 days on the lunar surface. Now it had to keep 3 men alive for 4 days. In the hostile environment of deep space, every resource was precious. Water was rationed to just 6 ounces per person per day, less than a coffee cup. The cabin temperature dropped to 38 degrees Fahrenheit. Condensation formed on every surface as the astronauts' breath froze in the air. Fred Hayes developed a kidney infection from dehydration. They were slowly dying, but Mission Control wasn't giving up. Led by Flight Director Gene Kranz, the man who famously declared, "Failure is not an option." Hundreds of engineers worked around the clock to solve problems nobody had ever imagined. How do you remove carbon dioxide when you have the wrong type of filters? They built a makeshift scrubber using duct tape, cardboard, and plastic bags, items the astronauts had on board. How do you conserve power when every watt counts? They shut down every non-essential system, leaving the crew in near darkness, navigating by the light of Earth and stars. Getting back to Earth wasn't as simple as hitting the brakes and turning around. At their current position, that would take too much fuel they didn't have. Instead, NASA devised an incredible plan. Use the moon itself as a gravitational slingshot. Apollo 13 would swing around the far side of the moon, using lunar gravity to whip them back toward Earth like a stone from a slingshot. But this meant flying deeper into space than they'd ever planned. Farther from home, farther from help. As they disappeared behind the moon, radio contact was lost. For 25 agonizing minutes, the 3 astronauts were completely cut off from Earth, alone. In the absolute silence of deep space. At Mission Control, hundreds of people held their breath. The world watched and waited. Finally, the crackling voice of Jim Lovell broke through the static. "Please be informed, there is a Santa Claus." They had survived the far side of the moon and were heading home. But they weren't safe yet. The improvised trajectory was slightly off. If they re-entered Earth's atmosphere at the wrong angle, too shallow, and they'd skip off into space forever, too steep. And they'd burn up like a meteor, the crew would die within sight of home. They needed to perform a precise course correction. A 14-second engine burn that had to be timed perfectly. Under normal circumstances, this would be easy. The spacecraft's computers would calculate everything precisely, automatically timing the engine burn down to the millisecond. But the computers were shut down to save power. The digital clocks were dark. The crew had no countdown timers, no automated systems. Nothing electronic at all. All they had was what every astronaut carried as part of their standard equipment: an Omega Speedmaster professional chronograph. A purely mechanical watch that didn't need electricity to function. Commander Jim Lovell strapped the Speedmaster to his wrist. As the engine fired and the spacecraft began to shake, he started the chronograph and began counting the most important seconds of their lives.
Start. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Cut.
The engine shut down. Mission Control ran the calculations. The burn was perfect, exactly 14 seconds, timed by a mechanical watch. Apollo 13 was now on a safe trajectory home. That Omega Speedmaster had just saved 3 lives. April 17, 1970. After 4 days of cold, hunger, and exhaustion, the command module Odyssey splashed down in the Pacific Ocean.
500 feet. So F1 on station. It is on station. Photo 1's on station. Photo 1 observes splash down at this time. On pickup.
Against impossible odds, all 3 astronauts were alive. The mission that was supposed to be a routine moon landing had become NASA's finest hour. A testament to human ingenuity, courage, and the power of never giving up. And that mechanical watch? It became legend. The Omega Speedmaster wasn't just the moonwatch anymore. It was the watch that helped bring Apollo 13 home. Because NASA faced a different kind of problem. How do you properly thank the people who made the impossible rescue possible? Their answer was unexpected: a cartoon beagle named Snoopy. In the 1960s, as America raced to beat the Soviets to the moon, NASA needed a symbol for their safety program. Something memorable. Something that would stick in people's minds when lives were on the line. They chose Snoopy. Charles Schultz himself drew the iconic beagle as an astronaut, floating proudly among the stars in his little white spacesuit. From that simple drawing, one of the most prestigious awards in aerospace, was born the Silver Snoopy Award. This wasn't just another corporate recognition program. The Silver Snoopy could only be given by astronauts themselves, and only to those whose work directly contributed to flight safety and mission success. Less than 1% of the aerospace workforce has ever received one. Fast forward to Apollo 13. The spacecraft is dying. The primary navigation computer is offline. The crew has only one reliable timepiece left: their Omega Speedmaster watches. For 14 seconds, Jim Lovell uses his Speedmaster to time the final engine burn. That will bring them home. 14 seconds between life and death. Between floating forever in the void or splashing down safely in the Pacific. The burn works. Apollo 13 comes home. 6 months later, in October 1970, Omega receives the Silver Snoopy Award. The citation is simple but profound, for significant contributions to the success of manned space flight missions, and for dedication to flight safety and mission success. The award itself tells the story. A silver lapel pin featuring Snoopy in his spacesuit. But this isn't just any pin. Each one is carried into space before being presented, making it a literal piece of spaceflight history. Along with it comes a certificate, personally signed by the astronauts who lived through the mission. But here's what makes this story remarkable. It wasn't about the technology alone. It was about trust. When everything else failed, when computers went dark and systems shut down, the astronauts trusted a mechanical watch. No batteries, no electronics, just precision engineering and human ingenuity. Today, Omega's Silver Snoopy Speedmaster watches honor that legacy. They're not just timepieces, they're storytellers. Each one carries forward the memory of those 14 crucial seconds of split-second decisions in the vastness of space, and of a cartoon dog who became an unlikely symbol of human achievement. The Moonwatch didn't just go to the moon. It came back transformed from a tool into a symbol of precision, reliability, and the ingenuity that defines us as a species. This is why the Omega Speedmaster transcends watchmaking. It represents something deeper: our drive to explore, to push boundaries, and to trust in the tools we create to carry us beyond what seems possible. Every time you see that silver Snoopy on a Speedmaster dial, remember you're looking at more than marketing. You're seeing a piece of history, worn by people who literally reached for the stars and lived to tell about it. If this journey through space and time has captivated you, subscribe for more incredible stories. This channel explores the fascinating intersection of human achievement and the objects that make it possible. From legendary timepieces to the unsung heroes of exploration. The stories of how we got here and where we're going next. Because behind every great achievement lies an even greater story waiting to be told.